I'm Aaron Maté, sitting in for Jimmy Dore here at the Americans comedian Kurt Metzger. And this is happening in Washington, D.C. on Sunday, February 19th. Rage Against the War Machine. It's an anti-war rally calling for an end to the Ukraine proxy war, calling for diplomacy to end this disaster that is nearly 1 year old. Here are some of the speakers. There's our own Jimmy Dore, Ron Paul, Tulsi Gabbard, Dennis Kucinich. So look at that. Dennis Kucinich, well-known Democratic member of Congress, spent many years in Congress. Now he is no longer there, but, staunch advocate of peace, fought all the wars that were waged but when he was in office, whether it was waged by a Republican and George W. Bush in Iraq or a Democrat, Barack Obama in Libya and the dirty war in Syria. Dennis Kucinich fought against that. Other speakers include Cynthia McKinney, former member of Congress, Scott Horton, he's with the Libertarian Institute, retired Colonel Ann Wright, Gerald Calente. We got more, Chris Hedges, Roger Waters, David Swanson. We see there Garland Nixon, Max Blumenthal, Anya Parampil, Supreme, the hip hop artist. So bringing together people who identify with the left and the right for one cause, which is to stop this disastrous proxy war and avert the threat of even nuclear war, which this proxy war unfortunately risks. But there's been some controversy because speakers, while everyone unites on the issue of war, they don't agree on other issues, cultural issues, Social Security, Medicare, LGBTQ rights. And so some people have dropped out of this speech because of that. And here's an article from Chris Hedges about why, regardless of our differences and all these other issues, that we need to build a left-right coalition against the war. So let's hear some of what Chris Hedges has to say. He says, "We will not topple corporate power and the war machine alone. There has to be a left-right coalition, which will include people whose opinions are not only unpalatable, but even repugnant, or we will remain marginalized and ineffectual. This is a fact of political life. Alliances are built around particular issues, in this case, permanent war, which often fall apart when confronting other concerns. If I'd organized the rally, there are some speakers I would not have invited, but I didn't. This does not mean that there are no red lines. I would not join a protest that included neo-Nazi groups such as Aryan nations or militias such as the Proud Boys or Oath Keepers."
What, he doesn't like snitches?
The demands of the Rage Against the War Machine rally are ones I share. They include not one more penny for the war in Ukraine, negotiate peace, stop the war, inflation, disband NATO, global nuclear de-escalation, slash the Pentagon budget, abolish the CIA and military-industrial deep state, abolish war and empire, restore civil liberties, and free Julian Assange. To those who suffer directly from U.S. aggression, these demands are not academic and theoretical issues. The victims of this militarism do not have the luxury of virtue signaling. They want the rule of law to be reinstated and the slaughter stopped. So do I. They welcome any ally who opposes endless war. For them, it is a matter of life or death. If some of those on the right are anti-war, if they also want to free Julian Assange, it makes no sense to ignore them. These are urgent existential issues that, if we do not mobilize soon, could see us slip into a direct confrontation with Russia and perhaps China, which could lead to nuclear war. The rally on February 19th is not about eliminating Social Security and Medicare or abolishing the minimum wage, which many libertarians propose. It is a rally to end permanent war. Should these right-wing participants organize around those other issues, I will be on the other side of the barricades. Those who will pay the steepest price for this paralysis are those killed, wounded, and displaced by the war machine, including the over 900,000 civilians killed directly and millions more indirectly as a result of the post-9/11 U.S. wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria, Libya, Somalia, and Pakistan. But the left, mesmerized by a self-defeating boutique activism, also pays a price. As the empire unravels, the woke left, demanding moral absolutism, marginalizes and discredits itself at a moment of crisis. This myopia is a gift to the oligarchs, militarists, and Christian fascists we must defeat. That's Chris Hedges writing at the Sheer Post about the need for a left-right coalition, regardless of the differences in this coalition on other key issues, because those issues are not existential. Nuclear war is.
Who dropped out?
Code Pink dropped out.
Oh, really?
Veterans for Peace dropped out. Yeah.
I mean, that's like as idiotic as Ukraine needs to fight to the last man. Like,
Yeah.
our battle for natural gas with Russia is more important than all these people dying. Something about bathroom usage trumps all these people's lives.
Yeah. By the way, I know it's standard now to use the term woke left, but I don't. It's actually, the term woke came out of black culture, as I understand it, and it means something totally different than how it's referred to now. Now it's referred to as basically being like ultra PC.
Well, it's poison now. So I mean,
like ultra PC and like identitarian,
hey,
but that's not. But woke just meant actually getting educated.
It's dead now. Don't try to save it.
No, I'm just saying it's like it's been
it's getting jiggy with it now.
It's been bastardized. It's been bastardized by the same people.
That's
who claim,
how it works.
I know. Yeah.
You make up a word, then somebody's white mom is saying it and it sucks. You make up a new thing.
Yeah.
That's the ecosystem.
Well, here is Jimmy Dore and Max Blumenthal. They talked about this upcoming rally on the Gray Zone, and let's hear some of what they had to say.
Hey, I'm not going to want to be in there with like Sig Heiling neo-Nazis and like, that Patriot Front group that looks like a bunch of federal assets and they all show up in the same Nazi costume with masks on. Like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be among them, but that's not what's going on. And, a lot of times people can be right about things who I don't agree with about other things, but this is the most important cause of our time. This is about civilizational survival. February 19th, Washington, D.C. If you're serious about ending this war, if you're serious about stopping nuclear war, if you're serious about disarmament, if you're serious about de-escalation, if you're serious about peace, if you're serious about stopping imperial encroachment, if you're serious about challenging NATO, if you're serious about freeing Julian Assange and his freedom are among the list of demands that all speakers and participants have agreed to. If you're serious about ending the secret government with an over $80 billion black budget known as the CIA, which carries out terror attacks, kidnappings, and torture around the world, if you're serious about those things, you will be there. If you're not serious, you'll find ways of sabotaging this.
Well, I think that's what's happening is that, of course, the reason why there is no left movement in America and there's absolutely no anti-war movement in America, it's because left organizations are, as we're finding, just like FBI was infiltrated all the social media organizations, and now the CIA is just right on camera now in corporate media. They don't even try to hide it anymore. So that they've in fact infected every left organization, and they've turned it. What do? They divide and conquer, and that's exactly what's happened. And so that's what they're trying to do now. And the thing is, these people who want to, like, instead of participate in an anti-war rally, want to talk about, I disagree with the people who are speaking's politics. That's just ridiculous, right? So that shows that you're a cosplayer when it comes to stopping a nuclear war. That's the equivalent of saying, "You I'd like to stop a nuclear war, but not with those people." I mean, it's comical. Yeah. It's comical. Yeah. That's how ridiculous it is, and it reveals those people to be unserious, insincere people who are cosplaying at anti-war. And so, if you want to be a leader, if you're a part of an anti-war organization that doesn't want you to take part in an anti-war rally, you should be a leader and go to that anti-war rally and lead. That's what leaders do. Leaders don't take direction, but leaders give direction. Leaders lead, and they lead by example. So I'm going to be there, and I hope they keep attacking it, because that shows you that it's powerful. They're calling it everything in the world, right? Yeah. And so that means they don't want this to catch on, because you got lefties there, you got libertarians there, you got former Congress people there and military people there. You got all types of people there, and that's what scares them. That's the only thing that scares them. If they can keep us hating half the country and half the country thinking the other half of the country is their enemy, instead of with the exact opposite, which is that we have a common enemy. It's the military-industrial complex that is bankrupting this country. By the way, we're ending the way all empires end. They just put 3 more military bases in the Philippines recently. I swear to God, they just did that. So that's what this is all about. That's what actually scares them. So that's why they have to attack this actually extra hard, because it's got people from all spectrums of the political spectrum. And so that's why it scares them. Wouldn't you agree, Max? That's what actually scares them. If it was just a bunch of just a bunch of Greenpeace people, or if it was just a bunch of libertarians, or if it was just a bunch of it wouldn't have much impact. But the fact that it expands, that's what gives it its power. People who disagree vehemently about other things. There are people there who want to end Social Security and take Medicare away from people. That's not what this is about. This is about we have to first stop nuclear war, and then, hey, guess what? We can fight about all that other stuff.
So there it is. Rage Against the War Machine, February 19th, Washington, D.C.
Doing live stand-up comedy in Tempe, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, Nashville, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, and Hartford, Connecticut. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets and become a premium member. Get access to all our content.